Okay, so it's 10 o'clock now. Councillor Capon's not yet dialed in, but are we okay to start? Should we give him a few more minutes?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Edwards, we're still waiting for Sarah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
That's okay. I'll get somebody to.
Oh, there she is. Right, on cue.
Yeah, you're all fine to start. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, welcome everybody. So I'm Councillor Edwards, the Chair of Human Resources Committee, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting, which is being held virtually and in accordance with the Council rules for the virtual meetings, which reflect the recently published government regulations. The meeting is being streamed live on YouTube, and we will also be available to view after the meeting is finished. Councillors who sit on this committee are identified by name on the screen, and I will introduce the officers by name before they address the committee. Councillors are reminded that although this meeting is being held remotely, they are regarded as being present in a meeting of the council, and they should observe the normal rules of behaviour under the Member Code of Conduct and not allow members of their household to distract them during the course of this meeting. Can members also ensure that their mobile phones are now switched off or on silent? Members of the committee will also turn on their video link during the meeting and keep their microphones muted unless they have been invited to speak by myself as the chair. Members are reminded that if they switch off their video link or move away from the camera, they will be treated as having left the meeting and will not be able to take part in any vote on the item under the discussion. Members can indicate their wish to speak by raising their hand and should only speak when I, as the chair, invite them to do so. The officers present will only switch their video link on during the meeting when they are presenting or where they wish to be invited to speak by me as the chair. As chair, I will confirm the name of any visiting speaker at the appropriate time in the agenda who will address the committee by audio link. Councillors should declare if they are leaving the meeting or switch off their video link if they have a disclosable pecuniary interest or other personal interest on an item on the agenda. The councillors can switch on their video when I call the next agenda item. Voting will be taken by a roll call, and I will confirm the recommendation proposed to the committees before the voting begins. Can each member indicate whether they are for or against the recommendation or whether they wish to abstain? And then finally, hopefully we won't have any IT problems, but can I remind councillors that if their connection is lost, they should immediately advise a Democratic Service Support Officer and use their meeting link to access the meeting again. Okay, so item number 1 on the agenda is apologies for absence and substitutions. So Councillor Reid is being replaced by Councillor Tilbury and Councillor Westbrook replaced by Councillor Phillimore. I think there's no other substitutions. No. Okay, so this is actually the first meeting from May. So to appoint a vice chair, I would like to nominate Councillor Tony Capon. Are there any other nominations?
Yes, Chair. I'd like to nominate Councillor Tony Jones.
Okay. Councillor Tilbury, did you have your hand? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry. I do not want. Did you nominate me, Ian? Ian? Sorry.
Nominated you.
If someone mentioned my name, I don't want to be nominated. Thank you.
Okay.
That's the easiest way of putting it.
Councillor Tilbury, did you have your hand?
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, I was going to nominate Councillor Jones as well, or Councillor Regan if he wants to do it there. Obviously, as a substitute. Yeah,
Councillor Regan. Councillor Jones has dropped out the race.
I decline as well, Chair.
Offended by that. So are we all in agreement with Councillor Capon?
There we are.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Yeah, well done, Tony. Okay. So are there any declarations of interest? Nope. Any urgent matters? No, so I do not consider them to be any. And then we move on to the meeting held 2nd of March early this year. Are we all agreed that the meeting minutes are accurate? Yeah. Okay, so the main body of the agenda now is the appointment and selection process for a new chief executive and head of paid services. So on the call, we should have, Steve Guest from Solace, who will be supporting us in the recruitment process. And then we've got head of HR now to give a brief overview of the report, and then we'll move into a private session. So Sarah, can I pass over to you, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I just want to do a quick summary of the report that I know has already been circulated in relation to our appointment and selection process for a new Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. So as you're all aware, our current Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service is leaving Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council on the 31st of August 2020. Under the Local Government and Housing Act, each local authority has a duty to designate one of its officers to be its head of paid service. And the council's constitution states that it's a function of the HR committee to coordinate the recruitment of the head of paid service. The constitution also states that full council will approve the appointment of the head of paid service following the recommendation of such an appointment by a subcommittee of the HR committee. The recruitment timetable has been designed to enable a recommendation for the post of Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service to be made to full council in October 2020. And the report therefore just outlines the process and the timetable involved in making a decision to appoint a new Chief Executive. And in addition, to seek the views of the HR committee on the advertising material for the role, which we will do later. So in summary, there are a number of key things that we need to consider in recruiting a chief executive. Senior level recruitment is typically supported by a search agency, and as Chair has already indicated, Solace has appointed as the partner search agency for this process. They successfully supported the council with a number of previous senior level recruitments, including a number fairly recently, and in the last few years at chief exec, exec director and head of service level. So their role is to support you as the committee at all stages, to prepare the designing and branding of advertisement and recruitment information, to manage the recruitment process from advertising, searching, long listing, first stage interviews, shortlisting and psychometric assessments, to design and administer the final assessment process, and to carry out due diligence checks around pre-employment checks for successful candidates such as references. And my role as Head of HR Communications and Policy is to support the HR committee through this process in addition to Solace. In terms of the proposed timetable, this is obviously a dynamic process that we've been working through, so I just need to make you aware that there are some changes or slight alterations to the timetable as was set out in the report. So essentially the application executive search period will close a week earlier than is indicated on the report, so it'll close the week commencing 24th of August. And then the long listing process will commence the week after that, and everything is therefore moved forward by a week. This enables us to have a separate assessment centre and final interviews. Now, obviously, the final interviews is a significant time in the future, so it may be at that point we would be in a position to do some of that in person, and therefore it's helpful for us to have the assessment centre and the final interviews as separate processes in case we want to do a mixture of virtual and in-person processes if the situation allows us to do it at that point. In terms of the overall recommendations from this report, there are a number of things that I'd like the HR committee to consider. To agree the proposed recruitment timetable with the amendments as indicated, as shown in the report. For the committee to confirm whether they wish the recruitment of Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service to be coordinated by the whole HR committee. This is what's been done previously, but it is different to what's in the Constitution. So just for the committee to confirm that's what they want to do rather than it being a subcommittee. For the committee to make suggestions for potential changes to the Chief Executive job description and person specification shown at Appendix 1, and we will go on to do that in private session, and to delegate final sign-off approval for this to the Head of HR Communications and Policy in consultation with the leader and the chair of the committee. and to provide comments on the draft advert and recruitment microsite design and wording, and delegate final sign-off approval for this to the head of HR Communications and Policy in consultation with the leader and the chair of HR committee. And again, that will be considered in the following private session.
Thank you. So as Sarah's touched on, I'd like to put in a motion to move into private session, just due to the confidential nature of the discussion on the item, which information relating to any individual and or information relating to the financial affairs of any particular person. Can I have a seconder on that, please? Yeah, Councillor Gardner, thank you. Are we all in agreement to go into private? Yeah. Okay. So